Hey guys, I'm Vincent,
I'm Michelle. I'm Twee.
and today we're going to be talking about first generation Asian Americans and how parents do not understand our greatest achievements. What is your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's so normal and it's so true that they can't really share our greatest achievements because they've never really gone to school here. And it's kind of crazy because, they have so many expectations without understanding the process. Sometimes it feels like really unreasonable. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like sometimes it's really hard to navigate school life with them pressuring you and also with them not understanding what you have to go through.
Go with that example about your dad. How remember I asked you what was the best gift you gave your father and you talked about?
Yeah. So I gave him this thing I made in organic lab, and he didn't to him it's oh, she created something, that's something really cool. But to me it's it's lab, that's what you do in lab, you make different things. And there's so many other achievements that I had that really wouldn't have the same value to him, like my research or anything else, any positions that I've gotten in my internships, they wouldn't hold as much value to him because those aren't technically academic. And since our parents aren't really from here, academics become the most, I guess, sure sign of success to them because they don't understand what it's like to have experience. So yeah.
I completely agree. I think it's kind of a cop-out for them to just go through academics because they always have that stigma of we want to provide a better life, and that better life for our children is always academics, and they're very competitive in that because to them it's either academics or wealth, and if you don't have one then you have the other. And so coming here in America, since public school it's free, they just always resort to grades.
Now here actually is an interesting question. So you know how Asian parents usually they're oh, become a doctor, become a lawyer, become an engineer. Do you think it's harder for first generation Americans or people with immigrant parents to chase their actual dreams because their parents are always implementing this idea of success, this very specific idea of success in their children's heads? Do you think?
For sure, absolutely. With me with photography, videography, my parents don't get it.
Same.
They're oh, why are you wasting your time? But to them, success has to be monetary. Those fields are high income, so it's always about money with them. I actually had a funny thought the other day. You know how Asian parents compare their kids, but my kid's a dentist. Oh, my kid is smart. My kid went to this school. Why don't they brag about something more important? Oh, my kid has good mental health. My kid loves to spend time with me. I have a great relationship with my son or my daughter. But they brag about things like that. Oh, he got into Harvard. Oh, he's gonna be a doctor.
Right.
Stuff like that. And it's not what's important. It's intrinsic value. Anything you want to add on?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Good question.
I think it's also the Western and Eastern culture too. It's a huge culture shock for them, and so mental health is not a thing for Asian families. If you do bring that up, it's kind of a sign of weakness, and it's kind of an excuse, so they don't acknowledge it until something drastically actually happens to you. That's when they're oh, maybe I actually did do something wrong. And that's the thing about Asian parents is they won't understand you until something bad happens, unfortunately. Because mental health is not a thing for them.
And on top of that, I feel mental health is a very individualistic thing to kind of think about, whereas Asian culture is very communal. We think about our families before we think about ourselves. We think about the greater community, rather than, what our individual goals are. So it's really hard for us to prioritize mental health when we're so used to being taught, think about your family, think about, how your family feels about things rather than how you are affected by the things your family puts you through. So it's very interesting to kind of feel the conflict between how the Western world is focus on yourself, do things for yourself, chase your dreams, while your parents are think about the family, how are we going to take care of each other, spend time with us. They emphasize very different things, and it's kind of night and day for us. And it's so interesting to see how other families kind of fit in better with that mentality, especially American families. They're yeah, my son, I just want him to do whatever he wants to do, want him to chase his passions, and oh yeah, like I care about his mental health or things like that, which are so taboo to our culture. So
That's also how we were raised too, because I feel the American families, they've been through it. Like in America, they grow up so they know how their kids is like thinks and feel. Our parents grew up in a totally different world at a different time, so it's hard to connect and relate with them.
yeah. Do you think our parents lack the mental health issues because they didn't grow up in such a diverse culture, in like such a diverse country? Because I feel like a lot of our problems are like mental problems, or our security problems come from the fact that we were treated so differently from all the other American children, whereas like our families kind of grew up in, you know, like a little village where they're all the same people speaking the same language and things like that. Do you think like that's why we have so many more mental health problems than our parents did, and like why they don't understand that?
I think so. I mean, their goal every day is just to survive the day. And so they don't really have like a goal monthly or yearly. It's just day by day. And so they're not exposed to new surroundings, new environments, new people. Whereas here in America, we're exposed to different children, different races, different schoolings, different backgrounds. And so every day is something new, whereas when you're back home, it's just survive the day. So.
I agree. Back then, their mindset was survival. You know, get over to America, provide for your family, and ours is self-actualization. Like we actually we don't have to worry about surviving. We get to like find our purpose. Like what are we gonna do in our self-actualization versus survival.
Yeah, in a way, it's like a privilege even to have the time to consider our mental state and our mental stability, because back then that was not even in their minds. Like they didn't have the privilege of, you know, thinking about emotional states of being, or like even spiritually. Like I feel like they were just work and grind.
Survive. Yeah. I think we're gonna break the wheel, and like our kids are gonna be raised differently because we've learned from our parents, and hopefully it's gonna be more Americanized, but still keep the same traditional values.
I don't know, because like how I'm raised now, like my parents are very traditional, and I'm a girl, so a lot of double standards. And so I'm always like, well, I'm not going to raise my kids that way. But then in my head, it's like, but I turned out okay because that's how my parents raised me. So what if I raised them differently? Like, will I get the same result? And so like that, I think that's like one of my biggest like fears of, you know, having kids one day is like, do I raise them so traditionally, so strict? Like, do I have all these rules, or should I be relaxed? You know, and kids nowadays, like, they have so many things, you know, with all this technology and stuff. And so not a lot of people are punishing their kids as, like, our parents did. Because, like, when I grew up, like, my parents spanked me. But, like, kids nowadays, their punishments are, like, you know, time out, or you can't have your iPad. So it's like...
that's interesting. How do we feel about disciplining our kids that way?
Yeah.
That's crazy. And also the technology, now we have something to take from them. Whereas back then it was like,
what's out there?
Whereas back then it's like, what do we take from them?
Let's cut.
Yeah,